How did you fix it?
Just erased the application.
Oh, did you? Good evening.
こんばんは。今ちょうど30分かな。
31.
うんうん。ごめんなさい。
How are you?
How are you?
Tired. But, yeah, things are okay.
Yep, good.
I must say, since Golden Week, my work situation and my feeling of worth or feeling of imigaru has greatly increased.
Good.
Before Golden Week, it was a month of really hard work because the kids of my preschool were not using English at all.
そうだったね。
They were very young. They're still obviously young, but they didn't really seem to feel that English was something to be used.
Right, right.
And so for the first month, my team teaching partner and I were like, English, please, English, please. This is English, please, English, please. And it was really tiring.
Right.
Because that's not the interesting part of teaching at all.
Right.
Teaching becomes interesting when you are working with students who realize that English is something to be used. So it was very tiring. And just before Golden Week, we had the idea, it was your idea, I think, of why don't you approach the mums?
Yes, yes.
And send a message to the mums to say, listen, onegai. At the door when you send the kids in the morning, please make sure that they greet the teacher first. Secondly, have the mums suggest to the kids, Eigo de ganbatte ne. Right. And then finally, at the end of the day, what English did you say or what English did you use? And so, onegai shita desu yo to the parents in a video message.
Right.
Now, that was just before Golden Week. Now, after Golden Week, on the first day back, my team teacher and I noticed it seemed that the kids were using a little bit less Japanese. Maybe it's just me, you know. So we didn't even say anything after the first day.
Right.
And then the second day, and then the third day, and the English was going up and the Japanese was coming right down.
Right.
Even to the point where some of the kids were turning to each other and going, no Japanese. English, please.
Right.
And now the situation, and it's only been like 30
days,
a bit more. Well, yeah. It was basically 30 days up until Golden Week, perhaps. And now there is virtually no Japanese.
Good.
And all the kids are using English.
So ne.
Yeah. So that change in attitude. And I was convinced that the parents must have said something to the kids.
So ne. So omotta.
Yeah. My feeling was, once the parents saw this video letter, my feeling was that they were shocked and surprised that the kids were not using English. And that my image was this, that they got the video letter and thought, hey, and they spoke to their kids, hey, you don't use English? You use Japanese, right? What do you think this is? This is bridal. This is the English immersion. We're sending you there for your English. You have to don't use Japanese. I think they might have got a little bit upset with the kids. So that was my image. Otherwise, why on earth would the kids change so dramatically? Okay.
やっぱり親の影響って大きく、でもわかんないよ。自分話せないと思って入れてる場合があるから、でもやっぱり使ってみようねっていうその一言だと思うよね。使ってねっていう。 せっかく行ってるんだからっていう。
Yeah.
なんかそのちょっとした対話なんだけど、ちょっとした対話があるっていうことが実は大事だったりすると思うんだよね。
Yeah.
うん。
Well, yesterday I had a Zoom conference with the parents. And I asked them, what did you say? Because the kids were, their attitude, and it's only a small number of kids.
Right.
And two of them are kind of the ringleaders, a girl and a boy. And before Golden Week, they were using so much Japanese, and I was kind of led to, I was told by our manager that if you can change those two, the rest will follow. I was like, yeah, I think you're right. But they just seemed, because they were using more Japanese than anybody. They've got very strong characters.
Right.
Well, those two are now the best English speakers.
Right.
So I said to the mums, what did you say?
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, just what you told us in the video letter.
そうだと思うよ。なんかね、大したことないようだけど、すごく大事なことだと思ってて。いや、実はさ、ちょっと今日ちょっと指導のね、話とは変わっちゃうけれど、知り合いの方が英会教室に通わせてるのね。だけど、そこの先生ってすごく日本語使うんだって。で、なんか嫌だなって思うんだけど、ね、子供に英語使ってもらいたいために、英語上手になってもらいたいために入れるんだけど、なんか先生が日本語使うから、子供が英語使わないのがあって、でも使ってよとか言って、でも先生使わないしっていう。それは良くないなと思って話に行ったんだって、もうちょっと英語ともうちょっと使ってもらえないかって言ったらしい。
はい、わかりました。
ネイティブの先生いるんだけどね。
ネイティブも日本使っちゃう。
そうなんだよ。
よくある。よくある。
よくあっちゃダメだよね。
よくある。
ネイティブは日本語使うの？
そうだよ。Yes, we've talked about this before. Native speakers like to use Japanese in class because they like to practice their Japanese. And they're going for the communication with the students.
だから何が起こってるかっていうと、子供が日本語で話すから、それをアクセプトしちゃうじゃない？で、子供の日本語をアクセプトして、英語で返したりしてコミュニケーションして、言ってることわかるとか日本語話したりするから、結局言語がどっちでもよくなっちゃうんだよね。コミュニケーションっていうのにフォーカスを置いちゃうと、言語はどっちでもいいじゃない。通じれば。で、そうすると何のために英語やってんのみたいなとこがあってね。だからやっぱりほら、いつもアップリフトでも言ってるけどさ、日本語をどれだけ抑えられるか、先生の日本語も抑える。で、生徒の日本語も極力抑えて、どうやって英語でコミュニケーションしていくかっていうところができなかったら、やっぱ英語使えないもんね。英語を勉強するだけで使えるようにならないんじゃないかなっていうのはやっぱすごく思うよね。
So the kids totally 180 degrees changed on me. Totally flipped. And yeah, but the parents said, no, I didn't do anything. Just exactly what you told us to tell them. That's what we've been doing.
本当すごい怒ってたりしてる。わかんないけど。でもそんなことないと思うよ。まだ。
そうなんだよ。
ほら、いつも、なんか、せっかく言ったんだからさ、英語で喋った方がいいよって多分そういう感じで言ったと思うよね。英語で頑張ってねって。
Yeah.
で、分かった。みたいな感じで言ったんじゃないかな。
My manager says, actually before the meeting, my manager said to me, I bet you, if you ask the parents, what did you say? They will tell you that they'll say that they only said exactly what you had told them to say. So, I mean, you can ask it, but I'm telling you, you're not going to get anything more than that. And he was right. And he said, I told you. He says that it's definitely because of me and the efforts that I had put in that month before Golden Week. My team teacher and I had put in. But I'm not sure that I still believe that because, we used to say, they'd say something in Japanese. We'd say, English, please. What's that in English? And the kids would kind of look at us like,
why?
Why?
So.
Well, I've just told you in Japanese. Why do I need to say that again in English now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was really hard.
Right.
So
まあ、両方じゃない？なるべくほら、こう、アティチュードを育てることに結構、英語を使うというアティチュードを育てるためにさ、なるべく聞かないとできないアクティビティをいっぱい持ってくるとかさ、もうそれは頑張ったじゃん。もう言えないけど。
Sure. But now it's kind of interesting.
Right. よかったね。こっからだよね。
Yeah, ここからですよ。
やっと。
Yeah. So.
マシュンだって初めての経験だったもんね。
Yeah.
そう。
Yeah. That's the preschool, and it's going okay. It's going a lot better. But and it is interesting to know then. The funny thing is that the kids are speaking quite a lot now, and I've made a list. And the list that I had made of all the, I made a memo of all the English that the kids were saying by themselves, producing independently, and it's quite a good list.
Yeah.
And that list formed the back of the Gogatsu newsletter. We made a newsletter, and we put all that English on the back to let the parents know this is the kids. Now, I think that's quite an impressive result after only 2 months, April and May. But it didn't happen like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It happened like this.
まあ、成長曲線みたいじゃない？ずっと変わんないってなんか急にグッて上がる。
Yeah.
まあよくあるよね。いやー、よかったな。
Dilemma is they still don't always watch and listen.
まあこれから。
まあ。They're very small.
そう、これから。
Yeah.
それは大丈夫だよ。まず英語を使うんだよ、ここはっていうディスプリンじゃないけど、そこだよね。
Yeah. And to their credit, they have worked very hard to protect that environment. And that is, for me, just like amazing that they've changed so much. It's fantastic. Minori sensei, good evening.
そういうイマージョンの環境においての昨日お母さんが〇〇してね、それでね、みたいな、まだ英語力的に言えないような複雑な話は、そのプリスクールにいる間はしないということになるのですか？待って。
そういう。
昨日お母さんも何して、それでね、みたいな。そんなことないですよ。要はこれでしょ？お家で、昨日お母さんがしてね、それでねっていうような、いわゆる日常的な、子供の、会話みたいなの、複雑な話は、
英語で言える。
プリスクールにいる間はしないということになるか。そうじゃないよね。
No.
してきますよね。したいからね。イマージョンの、環境においてはできるようになると思います。
Yeah. Now, I should clarify, the quality of the kids' English is not brilliant. So, for example, today they drew a picture or something, and it wasn't a controlled activity, it was their own thing.
Right.
And one of the kids said, instead of saying, I'm going to give this to mum as a present, she said, I, mummy, here you are.
Kawaii. I, mummy, here you are.
Yeah. That's kind of how they talk right now. So little by little, once we know what they're trying to say, we're doing the English that they need.
そうだね。ね、かわいいね。そういうふうに言うんだね。
Yeah.
でもそれ結構ナチュラルな
Yeah.
習慣言語って。
Yeah. So to them, maybe the expression here you are means give.
なるほどね。
そう。
場面で覚えてるから。
Yeah.
かわいいね。いいね。 good strategy.
Things like that.
そう、いきなりはまだだから、それちょっとずつね。
There's a couple things. They still refer to themselves by their own name.
まあ、
Hiromi Hiromi likes なんとかなんとか。Hiromi sit here. Right?
I じゃなくて、
They're not I, right.
まあ、日本語がそうなっちゃうもんね。
So, yeah, we've still got a lot of work to do, but that's not a big challenge.
Right.
The challenge was attitude. And I can't believe the success we've had with that. That's just fantastic. And it's such a relief. Because to be honest with you, I thought, I can't see it happening. But my manager, I told him that. I said, to be honest with you, I thought, and he said, he said, we had no doubt. So, it's very nice to be, it's very nice to be believed in. Okay. But, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's like when you get given an impossible task and then people around you say, you can do it.
大丈夫、できるよって言われるとさ。
Yeah.
全然言うじゃないけどさ。
Yeah.
やってる立場からすると。
So it's nice to be believed and trusted. And of course, it's very nice when then people pat you on the back and go, see, I told you. Yeah, all right. But, なんかね. But I've got amazing support at my location, my school from April until right now. I get a lot of support from the staff, the parents, the management, of course. So it's good, but it's a lot of hard work. But interesting. And afternoon classes are fabulous. The elementary school kids are pretty good. And they're getting used to information gap activities. And they seem to be becoming really independent with them so that the activity carries itself. And all of them are talking evenly.
Right. That's good.
Yeah. And
やっぱりさ、そういうシチュエーションを作ってあげて、子供たちが体験しながら慣れていくっていうプロセスとっても大事だよね。まずそのシチュエーションを作るって先生が作って、最初は子供は慣れてなかったりすると、戸惑ってサイレンスになったり、とか日本語が出たりとかいろいろあるんだけど、それでも、そういう英語を使わなきゃいけない場面を設定して意図的に作って、そこをもうやっぱり経験させて、困った時にこうすればいい、困った時にはこう言えばいいっていうのをもう経験させて、慣れさせるしかないよね。そこでやっぱめげてほしくないなと思うしね。
Yes.
それでね、ほら、今、次世代型子ども英語養成講座今5期やってるわけですよ。
Yes.
で、この間セッション6が終わって、あと7、8でいよいよ終わりなんですよね。で、6ではマーケティングをやったんだけれども、イングリッシュアップリフトはもうずっと right from the start、what for の what for みたいな、もう what for ばっかり言われてて、はいわかりましたみたいになるのかもしれないけど、やっぱりどうしたいの、どうありたいの、何のためにするのっていうのはすごく言うじゃん。で、マーケティングでもそういう話が先にあったんだけど、その後にね、リピートの先生が、自分が勇気を出してやってきた SNS をね、についてのシェアをしてもらって、で、ほら、LINE 公式アカウント始めてみたとかね、YouTube やってみたとかさ、インスタやってみたとか、いろいろチャレンジしたら先生方の、シェアをね、してもらって、で、その後に、セッション1からセッション5、その日は6だったから6まで、全体的に受けて、自分がどう変わったか、はい、このアップリフトに入ってきてからね、その講座を受け始めてどう変わったかみたいな、
ディスカッション。
そう話と、自分が変わったことで次に見えるその課題が何だろうみたいな話をね、 ちょっと時間をとってやったんですよ。なかなかね、面白かったっていうか、なるほどなって。
I saw a video recording of one of those sessions. I need to have a look at the others. Very interesting, aren't they? And the comments, I was moved by the positivity with which the teachers in Goki are looking at not just the course, but also at themselves, their new selves.
そうそうそう。自分のことが自分軸とか言ったりするけど、なんか、もちろん英語のね、授業が、発話が増えたとか、そういうことはあったとしても、一番変わったのは先生自身っていう人がほとんどだったよね。
ほとんど。でね、while I was watching it, of course, many of the teachers were saying things like, they were self-reflecting and looking back at previous practices they had done in the classroom, and they were like, 今まで何だったの? Because they had a new way of thinking, new way of looking. They're starting to answer what for. So they were very negative on previous practices that they had done and quite ashamed. But I would tell you, don't be ashamed of what has happened, of what you had done or the way you approached things previously, because without that, then you wouldn't have who you are now. So you need to look back at those days fondly.
それがあったから今があるんだもんね。
そう。Please don't come down hard on yourself or regret anything, because that's not really a healthy way of looking at it. Change for the better is such an important experience and such an uplifting experience. So you need to have your past.
それがあったからさ、逆にそれがあったから、この講座に入ってきたっていうのがあるわけだからね。そう。だから、それがあったからここに出会って先生方がまたよくね、インプルーブしていったりとか、いろんなグローがあるわけだから、そう全然悪いことない。
大切にしてくださいね。
それはそれ。
みきこ先生、good evening.
こんばんは。
Yes, if you have just joined us, good evening. Thank you for joining us for another Thursday evening chat with Matthew and Jeremy from English Uplift. The chat box is right there. If you can access it from your device or from your PC, go ahead. Let us know who you are, where you are, and how you are this wonderful, little bit rainy Thursday evening. It's just started to rain here in Tokyo. Could be localized, but...
Right. でもそうさ、先生の話をね、こう聞いてるときに、もうずっとリピートしてる先生もいるわけよ。でずっとリピートしてる先生もちょっと別撮りでね、こう自分の変化について話してもらったんだけど、なんか面白かったのがさ、初めて、今までこういろんなとこで勉強してきて、で、アップリフトに入ってきて、もう今までやってきたことと全然違うことを言う。で、例えばマッシュの授業を見て、もうマッシュの子供たちすごい英語喋るし、もうなんかすごいみたいになって、なんか初めてディズニーランドに行った時に、もうすごい。
そこ本当に
なんかね、すごいって、すごいとこ来ちゃったみたいな感じだったって言ってて、そうなんだなと思って。確かにね、最初にこう、ノンターゲットをやったときに、その先生の、驚きようっていうのはなかなか私も覚えてて、みたいな。
はい。だ
から、みたいな。それは覚えてるんだけど、でもなんか、そんな風に、初めてディズニーランド来たような気分だった。
That was funny, that session. I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
それがあったから今がある、その言葉嬉しい。そうですよ。
Yes, that's right.
それがあったからね、ここに来たわけだ。
I remember that session. It must have been non-target English.
Right,そう。
And that teacher, something clicked with her. Something dropped. at that moment.
ちょっと
And
痛い。
yeah, she was just suddenly like, ちょっと待って、for 10 minutes. And we were like, kind of laughing because it's fun to see things click.
そうそう。で、特にさ、ほら、私たちがワークショップやってる時は、マシュの授業を結構見せてたけど、そういうのに来たことがなくて、アップリフトに来ると、初めてマシュの授業を子供たちでビデオとか見るじゃん。
And then when you explain why that the kids are doing this, and it clicks. 面白い。
結構面白いよね。
面白い。
なんか、とか、とか、とかも、すごいなんかうなってる。
Yeah, it was like an awakening right there. It was really, really cool.
そう。
Yes. I was about to say something. Hang on. 何を言おうとした？ちょっと待って。What were we talking about before you mentioned that? Disneyland? No.
そうで、ショックを受けていろんな声を出して、とか言ってるっていう。
Right. Yes, certainly. If you see my videos, you'll. A lot of teachers have commented that, wow, the kids are really speaking out, and there's no Japanese there, and they're all ages. You've got preschool kids, but also like junior high kids and everything in between. And it seems to be common in all the videos you show.
Right.
So, how do you do it? Now, yeah, non-target English I had kind of stumbled across like more than 20 years ago. But because of that, it's just something I'm interested in. I'm interested in the kids speaking out. I'm interested in them producing English that isn't repeated after me.
Right.
And because I'm interested in it, I've analyzed in so much detail, how can I get it? How can I get more of it?
Right.
So if you're interested in it, you can do it.
そう。できるよね。
できる。
絶対できる。そう。
Now,
そうでね、うちの受講生はさ、みんなマシュになりたいって言うわけ。嬉しいよね。マシュになりたいって。
Yeah.
でね、マシュになるために、もうマシュの授業もなるべくこう真似してやるんだけど、真似の仕方が甘いって全部コピーみたいな。マシュの話す英語を全部ディクテーションして、もうそのままやってみるみたいなことをね、やる先生もいてね。で、前もあったじゃない。私たちもリピートの先生の動画上げてもらって、確かにやってるんだけど、ちょっとこのカードの順番違うかなとか、いろいろあるじゃない。
Yeah.
で、そういうのってさ、もう無意識レベルでこの順番ってやってるから、そこがこうね、わからなかったりっていうのもあったと思うんだけど、だからもう完全にもう徹底的にパクるっていうさ、TTP、もう徹底的にパクるっていうのが、受講生が言ってるんだけど、徹底的にパクったら、マシュと同じように、マシュのクラスと同じように子供も反応したって言ってた。
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
面白いよね。
Yeah.
でもね、本当に、ほら、いつもね、こう意識して、だんだん無意識になるまでもやっぱ意識してやってきているわけよ。その子供の発話に興味がある、どういうふうに言ってるんだろうっていうことをマッシュが意識してやってる時期があって、今ではそんなことこう考えなくても、もう瞬時にこうなれるじゃない、で今その先生がこのプロセスにいるんだよね。そう、今意識してって。でもそうするとさ、マッシュが無意識に計算してることが、徹底的に真似することによって少しずつわかると思うんだよね。どうしてこうしてるかっていう。そう。
Yeah.
だから、マシュスーツを着て頑張るって言ってたけど、マシュが痩せてるから、スーツが入らないとか言って盛り上がってて楽しかった。チャックが合わないとかで。いや、でも、いろいろ先生の話が聞けてよかったな。
And yes, indeed. it's very it's very flattering to know that teachers are my colleagues, basically, because other teachers are my colleagues in this profession. It's nice and very flattering to have this kind of respect from your colleagues. And I appreciate it because, and it's great if I can also, by simply being me, influence other teachers and then their kids.
Right.
That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? So that's something also I'm very interested in. So which is why I really love what we do here and with English Uplift. Which brings us on to our topic, I guess.
指導力を上げるにはパート2。
Part 2. Part 1 was a bit of a disaster last week because of technical issues. These technical issues have been fixed. I'm happy to report that Hirami's PC is enjoying 100% charge. Isn't that a beautiful number up there? Right? Last week it got down to like, 2.
So 4,
from 20. It got to like 2% in the space of 8 minutes.
まあそういう時もあるでしょう。それちなみにさ、この YouTube ね、YouTube ライブやって、どのぐらいやってんのかなと思ったら、81回ぐらいやってるよ。
80?
結構やってるね。もうそのぐらい、81ぐらい。
How many years is that?
疲れたかも覚えてないんだけどね。結構どこ
Well, if there are 35 weeks in a year, no, they're not. There's 52 weeks, aren't there? How many weeks are there? What's 52? What am I talking about? 52.
まあ48から50。そうね。
35 weeks is a school year. そうか。If there are 52 weeks in a year, so all right, and we've skipped a couple of Thursdays every now and then, so that's mainly basically 2 years. 2 years?
結構続いてるね。
What have we been talking about for 2 years?
何話してたっけねっていう。なんかさ、好き勝手に喋ってるからこう忘れちゃって同じこと言ってたりするかもしれないけど、でももう80回ぐらいやってるんだなと思って。
Mind you, so we look at the numbers of the numbers of views that our videos have been getting. Now, I'll be very honest here. I was a little bit disappointed when Quiz Time got a really large number of views, but other more serious topics don't.
だからシリアスじゃない方がみんな楽しむのかもしれないね。まあ、そう。ほら、みきこ先生のさ、ご主人のさ、グルメレポートやってほしいとかさ。
そう。
言ってたよね、みきこ先生ね。
そっか。
まあ、そんな興味あるのか
ないでしょう、みんな。
そんなこと興味あるのかな。いや、なんか、ほら、先生方と話したり、こう、LINE とかにちょっと質問に来たこととか、ちょっと話した時に気になったこととか、まあスクールであったこととか、ちょっとどっか私がセミナーに行って聞いたこととかがあって、こう、何話そうかなって思ってるからさ、そんな私たちのプライベートとか、興味あんのかなみたいな。
Right. So last week, with a very broad topic of how to improve your teaching, because that was based on a question. We got that question. It was a lovely question. Very, very basic question. How do you improve your teaching? And so last week we looked at, I Googled it and just read some basic ideas, the majority of which we agreed on, which was like speak with other teachers and yes, attend workshops and things like that. So this week, I thought we would put Google down and try to answer this question from our own experience and our own ideas. And I made a list. I'm sure it's not complete. I'm sure I've missed many other important things.
Right.
But I just made notes on what the first things that came to my mind. So maybe we could start off. First of all, when it comes to improving your teaching, that's such a very general thing. So I split it. I'm like, if you want to improve your teaching, maybe think of teaching in two parts.
Right.
There is content, lesson content. And that is an area that sometimes needs improving.
Right.
There's lesson content,
Right.
and then there's the presentation. Lesson presentation. You have great content. How do you present it? Or I'm okay with presenting stuff,
Right.
but I don't have any content.
Right. Right.
So content and presentation are possibly two general, broad areas of teaching that you could deal with either one
Right.
or simultaneously.
Right. Right. Right.
But yeah, basically teaching, I think, would be divided into those two areas.
なるほどね。
The very first thing I wrote at the top of the page was know your policy.
絶対これだよね。
If you are a teacher who's すごく迷ってる、then it's possible you don't have a policy.
そう。で、そのポリシーをちゃんと自分の頭と心で受け止めたときに、違和感がないってことが大事なんだよね。
そう。
So, this is what I have to do っていうのと want to do にギャップがないかっていうことをやっぱり知らないと、こう揺れてるよね。
Right.
This is what parents expect.
Right.
But this is what I want to do. みたいな。そこの、ここがブレると、スキルがね、どっちに寄せてどうなるのっていうのですごく揺れるよね。
Yes.
だからそういう意味でポリシーっていうのは、自分で決める。その、期待されてることより自分が信じてることにフォーカスをして、で、そこをしっかり持つ。
Yeah. And once your policy is in place, then everything you do in the classroom, you can easily justify.
So
you can easily explain to parents. I had a very interesting discussion this morning with my team teaching partner, and we were just talking about schools generally, and also the feeling among some teachers that it's bad for business if kids cry.
あ、出た。それで、ゴッキーの先生の中に話があったんだね。
あ、そう。
泣いちゃうと、もう先生パニックよ。
Right.
泣かしちゃったみたいな。
Right.
そう。で、ものすごいなんかもう気使ってさ、でも泣いたとかいうのを親に言われたら親からクレーム来るかもみたいな、もうすごいその泣くことイコールダメでダメイコールクレームみたいなね。
That's right. And so my team teaching partner feels an obligation to be nice to the kids, obviously, but to not be ever in a position where, even though she feels like these kids, I need to do something here or say something here or they need discipline here, but she's pulled back by a fear of if I come down too hard or be honest, they might cry. And if they cry, they're going to tell their parents, and then the parents are going to. So it's a real struggle for her. But I told her I wouldn't worry about that. I would be just, I think it's best for the kids and yourself to be just totally honest. Totally honest. Don't worry about it because, nobody is intending to make kids cry.
Right, of course not.
But I said to her, the learning process can be an emotional one, a painful one, a struggle, and you want to cry through it.
Right.
You know, I said to her, the learning process involves going from the familiar to the unfamiliar.
Right.
The familiar is the comfortable area. The unfamiliar is the uncomfortable area.
That's right.
Now, sometimes teachers and schools are so focused on making the kids comfortable. But I'm like, you don't have to work too hard on that because the familiar is already comfortable.
Right. もうね、まさにそこでさ、この間のその簿記の先生のフィードバックに、もう今まではもう本当に子供が困らないように、楽しく泣かないように、もう泣いたら大変みたいな、もうどうしようみたいになってた先生がほとんどだったけど、今だいぶこう、クールになれるっていう。だその泣くイコールダメっていうビリーフじゃない。
Right.
で、その泣くっていうのにも理由があるじゃない。
Right.
で例えば、意地悪なこと言われて泣くのと、
Right.
なんか悔しいと思って泣くのとは違うわけよ、クオリティがね。
That's right.
そうだからただ泣いたら焦るっていうんじゃなくて、
Right.
やっぱり、ね、先生はね、信じてあげる力が必要なんだよね。
Right. Now, I'm totally happy, not happy, but I'm totally okay with kids crying as a result of what they did, if they went down the wrong, if they made a wrong choice. And the consequence ended up being not a favorable one.
Right.
And so they cry about that. I am okay with that and have no problem with that. As long as the kids understand that process. So, for example, there's this case. Say there's a preschool class and it's playtime and okay, it's time to clean up and the kids don't clean up. Or two of the kids clean up.
Right.
The rest don't. Or most of them clean up, but one or two don't.
Right.
Okay? So there's this approach as a teacher. Listen, if you don't clean up, help clean up, help your friends, then you can't play with the toys tomorrow. Now, I think that's fair. And because, well, you're playing with the toys, but you're not prepared to clean them up. So I see a direct consequence for the choice of their actions. That's right. So if you say, right, that's it, tomorrow you're not playing with the toys. And then the next day comes and say, no, sorry, you can't play with the toys because yesterday you didn't clean up. We agreed and I did tell in advance. And that child starts to cry.
Right.
I'm okay with that because that child understands that the reason they can't play with toys is because they didn't clean up yesterday. Now, if on the other hand you say, no, you can't play with the toys, but the child doesn't know why, then that's not fair. And if the child cries, then no, that's wrong. You know?
その怒るんじゃなくて、そのコンディションに対してそれをしないっていうチョイスをしたのは君だよっていう。だからその子供の言葉に責任を持たせてるだけだよね。プラス、やっぱりそこでさ、じゃあいいよってなると、正直に舐められるよね。
Yes.
言うこと聞かなくても、なんか嫌だって言ってれば、絶対先生が折れるっていうのが分かるとさ、もうどんどん舐めてくる。
Yes. Look, this is a major part of education. The responsibility of the choices you make. And the choices you make are things that you do in the classroom. And this is for the kids, of course, teachers too, obviously. And the choice. And you can totally remove yourself from that responsibility and say, well, no, that was your choice.
で、泣いて後悔したら次どうするっていう。次はどういうチョイスをしようかっていう。だそれもさっき言ったさ、ミスじゃないんだよ。経験なんだよ、ね。経験を踏ませるっていう。
So, in that way, if kids cry in class, it's a healthy thing because they're going through the pain of the consequence of a bad decision. And that, that goes with anything from that journey from the familiar to the unfamiliar, the familiar to the unfamiliar. If you take a step in the wrong direction and you step not off a cliff, but into a puddle and get your foot wet, then that was the wrong step.
まあ中にはさ、そういうなんていうの、こう条件を出してね、それやらなきゃいけないっていうのは良くないとか言う人いるのよ。そのコンディション出すと良くないみたいなね。でも私ね、
If it's fair, I think it's fine.
でも、そうそう、フェアである以上ね、このなんていうの、こうサブジェクティブじゃなくてね、なんかこうなんていうのかな、やっぱそういうこうだとこうだよっていうのをちゃんと言わないとただスポイルさせちゃうじゃん。じゃあいいよ、じゃあいいよ、じゃあいいよ、じゃあいいよっていう。でもそれはやっぱりなんだろうな、ちょっとしたことなんだけど、自分の言葉とか考えに責任を持たせることで、自分が何を考えているのかっていうことを、次にどういう行動をするのかっていうのを少し考えるようになると思うんだよね。で、それって、やっぱり大きくなってから、今大人にとってもさ、必要じゃん。
Of course.
そう。だから周りがそうだからじゃなくて、いや、自分でチョイスをするっていう。で自分の言葉とか自分の行動に自分で責任を持たなきゃいけないのに、すぐ人のせいにしたりとか、すぐ社会のせいにしたりとかってあるじゃない。
Kids need to know that the process of life is a process of choices.
そう。チョイスなんだよね。もう art of choosing で本当に。
Yes, indeed.
そうだね。そう。
はい。
っていうわけで、だ結局何が言いたいかっていうと、どういう子供を育てたいかっていうところにポリシーがある。
Right. Now, we were talking about know your policy. And once you have a policy, you don't have to be scared of anything. You can speak to parents about any issue, and everything you do in the classroom is totally justifiable.
Right.
And you will never have to worry again. Now, you may be watching this and thinking, well, all right. Now, you're either thinking, what's my policy? Or I don't have a policy, or how do you get one? Or you might be thinking, I think I have a policy, but I wonder what it is. What's the wording of my policy? I've got things in. For your information, if you are looking for a policy, ask yourself very simply, what kind of adults do I want my students to become? Your answer to that question is your policy. What kind of what kind of adults do I want my students to become? And what kind of adults do I think tomorrow's society will need? And if you can answer those two questions, you've got your policy right there. And then what you do is then, well, if that's the kind of adults that I imagine my kids should be, then you treat them or have them, expect them to be those type of adults in your classroom now. You start to shape them and mold them into becoming those adults in your classroom now.
Right.
Right. That's that one. Know your policy. The second thing I wrote.
本当そこがないと指導力上がんないよ。どこをどう上げるのって話だね。指導力。
そうだね。
じゃないとこう歌を上手に教えるためとかさ。
Right. Well, that's the second thing that I wrote here on me. Once your policy is set, it's kind of similar, but it's a little bit different. Know what your goal is. Know your goal. Now, the goal might be different depending on the teacher.
Right.
So your goal might be like mine, that is to have the kids use a lot of English, as much English as possible. Use it. But another teacher's goal might be, yeah, again, have the kids climb up the Aiken ladder.
あとはこう、楽しい。
Yes, that might be your goal.
そう。どうせ中学校になったら嫌いになるから今だけは好きにしといて。
Right. We've talked about this before. That particular goal, I think, is the most difficult one to keep.
先生が大変。
先生大変ですよ。大変。We good? Hey, so know your policy, know your goal. If your goal is the same as mine, that is to have the kids use as much English as possible, I think your teaching will improve quite dramatically if you understand what communication is. And still, when I observe lessons, not necessarily lessons with the teachers that we work with, but YouTube, lessons that people have put on. And they talk about communication and it's a communicative lesson. It appears that many teachers who are proud to put their teaching videos on YouTube are very unclear of what real communication actually is because you see very little of it in their lessons.
そうだからね、そのコミュニケーションが何かっていう定義が多分人によって違うのかもしれないんだけど、だから私たちから見ると、ここ全然コミュニケーションになってないじゃんみたいな、だけどコミュニケーションしてると思ってる。いつも言うけど、ほら、practice と use の違い、practice と use の違い、その英語を使うという意味で、使うという意味とそのコミュニケーションという定義。
Right.
これがによって全部授業変わる。
Of course. はい、じゃあね。So, picture this teacher who says, well, no, we have real communication in the lessons because I have my kids do, for example, interview games. Right? All the kids are talking. And they're all saying, excuse me, and can I ask you a question? And they ask the question, they get the answer, they say thank you, you're welcome, and then they go to the next person. It's so much English.
Right.
And the question might be something like, what food do you like? Now, hear me. Do you see that as a really fine example of good communication? No.
It's a practice.
This is practice. Why is it not communication?
まず質問が決まってるっていう事態でもう練習じゃない？
That's right. The kids who are going to answer that question already know what the question is. So it's not communication.
だってどういう質問が来るかわからないとか、だからその何のためにコミュニケーションしてるのかっていうところじゃない？
Right.
で、これさ、前どっかの YouTube で昔の YouTube で話してたと思うんだけど、その What food do you like ばっかりやってるわけよ。で、私その授業のオブザベーションに行ってたんだけど、これはちょっとね、オブザーバーだったんだけど、ちょっと入ってみようと。で、なんで入ったかっていうと、
You wanted to test.
そう。要は、全員がみんな What food do you like? I like なんとかスパゲティとかって言うから、ね、質問を英語聞かなくても、もう分かってるわけ、何聞かれるか。だから言うことが決まってるわけ。
That's right.
でもそれってコミュニケーションじゃないなと思って、What color do you like? って言ったら、I like なんかスパゲティみたいな、その、食べ物言ったのよ。いや。What color do you like? みたいな。とかなるわけ。いや、じゃなくてさ、みたいな。まあ。
It just proved that they weren't listening to the question.
いわゆるコミュニケーションしてないってことね。
No, that's right.
相手の質問を聞いて答える。で、聞いたことに対してリスポンスするんだけど、結局、What food do you like? って聞いて、I like なとは自分の好きなもの言うんだよって言って、それがコミュニケーションだと思ってるから、先生はすごく子供たちがよく話してコミュニケーション取ってますって言うけど、それはまだ私はプラクティスの段階じゃないんですかって話をしたんだよね。で、例えば、その What 何々 do you like? ってこの何々を自分が聞きたいことをチョイスして入れるんだったら、
コミュニケーションになる。
そう。どういう順番でどういう種類のことを聞かれるか分かんないから、 やりとりしてるんだったらコミュニケーションだけど、
Right.
その What food do you like だけで、こう、例えば Excuse me とか言ってさ、What food do you like? Alex, please.
Yeah,
で、じゃあ、それでさ、
Can I ask you a question?
それさ、なんだっけ、ほら、
Yes?
なんか A, B, A, B, B, A, A, B みたいな、ほら、なんかこう、なんか、Oh, I see とか言わなきゃいけないの
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, me too とかさ、なんか
Yeah.
言わなきゃいけないのあったじゃん。
Yeah.
うん。でも、あんまり言ってんだけど、いや、それはまだ、そ
Yeah.
の、
Can I ask you a question? Yes? I already know what you're going to
そう
ask me.
そうそう。もう質問決まってるのに。
Yeah.
でもそれをこう、流暢に言ってると。
What happens if you say no?
マジだったけどね。
Can I ask you a question? No. What food do you like? だってどうせ聞いてないもん。
そうそう。
そうそう。ね、コミュニケーションになってません。
でもやっぱそういうふうにこう子供たちが関わって英語でやり取りしてるとそれがコミュニケーションだって思う人もいるけど、私たちはあんまりそういうふうに思ってないね。コントロールはかかってるプラクティスだと思ってる。
There's a lot of things wrong with that particular activity, but
あるね。
So, please, yeah, get to know what real communication is.
はい。
When it happens, or there it is. When it happens in your classroom, or if you see it happen in somebody else's lessons, make a note. Oh, that's communication right there. Record your lessons. I did a lot of that.
これはすごくやるよね。マシューも相当取ったよね。
Yeah, ever since like working in elementary
そう
schools.
だよね。
In fact, it was working in elementary schools that began that process. Because at the time when I started working in elementary schools, it was working here in Tokyo.
Right.
And in this part of Tokyo, in fact, I taught every school in this part of Tokyo. And it was the first time that English had been implemented as part of Sogo Tekina Gakushu Jikan.
そうだね。
In all of Japan, that
Right.
one city was going to go with it, with English in every elementary school, from first grade to sixth grade.
Right,
It's going to be English.
Right.
Under 国際理解英語かな？
そう。
その順番だったん
国
ですよ。
際理解の中の外国語の中の英語。
Right. So, and I was in charge of
Right.
every lesson in this whole city. So, and it was a first. So we used to take a lot of videos to analyze them and to improve the lessons and things like that.
Right. それ大事だよね。
Because also I was working for a well, not Hakken Gaisha, but like a native teacher. ALT no Kaisha. So the staff that I was working with, the Japanese staff who were helping me design the program and design the materials, they couldn't be there and observe every lesson. So they needed to have me put up the camera. They said, here's the camera, film it.
Yeah.
And then we would watch them together.
Right. すごく大事だよね。
So that was really lucky for me because I was already in a
そういうふうにやることに慣れてたからね。
So record your lessons and look for moments of real communication inside your lessons. And if you find moments of real communication in your lesson, analyze that moment. Look very carefully. Why did that happen? How did it happen? Why did it happen? And analyze it and then try to reproduce that same
そう
situation
だね。
and give the same experience to other students. And then you can really recycle ideas that have kids talking
Right.
amongst all your lessons. And your teaching will definitely improve. The next thing I wrote was speak with other teachers.
これ大事だよね。
大きいですね。
他の先生はどうなのかなとか、どうしてるとか。
Even now, with our 受講生, sometimes things that we say will click with them, but often they'll be speaking to other 受講生 and somebody will say something that really, has a very big positive impact.
そうだね。まあ本当にちょっとした自分の教師の経験をシェアしてみたりとか、で、なんかこういうアドバイスをもらったとかいうのをこうシェアすると、なんかそれを見てね、私もそういう同じケースがあったとかね、なんかこうお互いインスパイアしてるっていうのもすごくあるよね。
Yeah. The thing with speaking with other teachers is, for example, I know when we were working at doing presentations for Apricot Publishing, which was a great experience for us, and it was lovely speaking with so many teachers from all over Japan, notably Nagoya and Osaka. But so you'd see the teachers there, and during the break there'd be teachers like having lunch together or having a chat together, and of course they were talking, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good thing, obviously, but it's a little bit different from when we look at the teachers in our Kosa, because the big difference when our teachers are talking and when teachers at a workshop who happen to be sitting next to each other are talking is that the conversations that are going on here are occurring within a team of teachers who are working to develop their teaching together. So the quality of the conversations is different, and the what for is different, and also the feeling for mutual support is there. Yeah, which is different from conversations that happen at a workshop. So speaking to other teachers is good, but it depends on the context. A team of teachers is always fantastic. A team of teachers. And that was also something that I grew up with very early in my career. Luckyだよ。
私もめっちゃ孤独だったからね、羨ましかったよね、そうやって。同じ方向を向いてる仲間がいるっていうのは、すごい羨ましかったもんね。すごくああだこうだやってて。私なんか一人でこう、データ分析して一人でやってたから。
ねえ。大変だったでしょ。
大変だったよ。未だにあるけどね、資料。一人で作った資料とかさ、授業のやつとかさ。誰も分かってくれないんだよな、とか言うからさ。でもなんかほら、まだすごくこう、アナライズがとても大事っていうのは、やっぱり私も叩き込まれてたから、イギリスで。だから、まずそのやりっぱじゃなくて、どうしてこうしてとか、どういう順番でああしてとか、自分で一人で見てる。でもこう、ほら、特に、私の場合は公立小学校が多かったから、あんまりそんなに先生たちも興味持ってくれないじゃん、任せみたいな感じだったからさ。だから余計なんかこう、あったけどね。そう。
コーヒー。はい。これうまい。
そうでしょ？
Is it organic? No, I won't show you this. I bought instant coffee, and I love it. That's all I drink personally. But it's lovely when Hirami fixes a cup of organic coffee, because it does taste pretty good. By all means, the chat box is still alive and kicking. So if you have any comments or anything to add to this discussion, yeah, please definitely also include your own experiences. The chat box is rather quiet this evening. Go ahead and use that for your own experiences. If there's anything that we have said that strikes a note with you, that you would agree with or not sure you agree with, or if there's anything that needs clarification, by all means, please go ahead and use the chat box. The next thing I wrote on my list, and I know Hirami can hear me from the kitchen, is rather interesting wording, handle information carefully. Handle information carefully. Now, what I mean by that is just that. If you look at your classroom and imagine what the kids are seeing and hearing, okay? It's not what you are doing and what you are saying. Try to put it the other way around. Imagine yourself, imagine your kids seeing what they see and hearing what they hear. Now, all of that is information. So just handle it carefully. Handle the information carefully. わかんない? You see? It's information. Handle it carefully. Be aware of order. 順番. Change the order if you need to, because that's what I did when I first started teaching. I changed the order of things that I was presenting and saw a huge difference in the kids' reactions. So I thought, oh, that's very interesting. So just know what you're presenting or having them see, know what you're having them hear, and play with the order. Handle information carefully. Because that can have a big difference in how much you engage the students, in how much you can have them speak out, how much you can have them feel success, feel motivated. So.
でもやっぱりポリシーによって違うよ。インフォメーションの出し方も、先生がどういうふうに、どこにゴールを置いてるかってさ、やっぱ what for が決まって、how to が決まるじゃん。そう、インフォメーションにハンドリングもそうだしさ。
Yeah.
ね、これはね、もう本当にいろんな考えがあっていいと思うけど、でもやっぱりこう冷静にさっきマシューも言ったように、どういう大人になってほしくて、その未来の大人にはどういうスキルが必要なのかっていう、もうそこだよね。
Yeah. And then finally, we've already covered this, but it was the final thing, know the what for.
そうそうか。
Know the what for. Which I guess you're right. That just basically relates to the policy again.
だって what for がなかったら何のための how to なのって。
Right.
what for がなくって how to やったってさ。じゃ how to は何のためになるわけだから、結局その情報のコントロールも何でもそうなんだけど、何のためにどういうふうにするかによって情報の仕方は全部変わるよね。そうそうそう。だからそういう意味ではWhat for 大事なんで、何のために。
Right, just to give you an example. It's very common. You'll hear this, you'll know this. It's very common for teachers to say to kids, okay, kids, open your textbook to page 12. Or to page 10. Open your textbooks to page 10. So the kids go, open their textbooks to page 10. So suddenly, page 10 is gone, right there. Now, what I would be doing is asking myself, what information is on page 10? Do the kids need to see all of it? Do they need to see all of it at one time? The information on page 10 is in the order from top to bottom. Sure? So that's the order that they're going to see this information. Is that a good order is that the best order for this information to be presented? Can I change the order of the information, change the amount of information? Do they need to open page 10? What for? What for? See, teachers will say to their kids, open your textbooks to page 10 without fully knowing the what for. That's what I'm saying.
そうそう。なんか、開いてどうするのっていう。なんでここで開くのかもそうだしさ。
Right.
で、その、開いて何をするために開いてるのかだよね。そうそうそう。
Right. What information did they get beforehand?
そうそうそう。
That is necessary now for them to open to page 10.
これさ、受講生は分かるけど、受講生なしと分からないんじゃないかな。
分かるでしょ。
そうかな。まあまあでも、そういうことです。でも本当に、何のためにそれやるの？で、それやって次何するのっていう。
大体次は、はい、open your textbook to page 11.
で、どうするのだよ。そうそうそうそう。やっぱ自分がやることに常にこう、何のためにやってるのかなって思うと、やっぱり変わるかなと思うね。やっぱりポリシーだよね。ポリシーが絶対あって、そのポリシーに基づくレッスンをするとするならば、どういうところに気をつけなきゃいけないか。
Right.
っていうところでね、何を大切にして授業するか。
でね、テキストの話なんだけども、what I often do is if the kids are up to page 10, for example, in the planning of the lesson or in the preparing of the lesson, I don't plan a lot. I do prepare, but I don't plan. We talked about this earlier, didn't we? The word lesson plan. I've never used it.
もしはレッスンプランだ。
Lesson plan.
フローはなんとなく分かってるけどね。
そう。まあ、because I'm working with a team teacher, we do, I guess, well, let's do this and this and this and this. I guess we're doing a lesson plan, but I've never really done it by myself. ということで、if, for example, in the hour or so before the kids come, and I'm looking at the textbook, all right, we did this last week, all right, so we're on page 10. I look at the information on page 10 and then ask myself, can I present this information in a different way? And usually I can, much more communicative way.
Right.
Take the information out, reorganize it, handle it carefully, and then give it to the kids in a different order, in a way that generates communication.
Right.
And then when it comes to, okay, open your textbook to page 10, there's nothing new on it.
Right.
Right. And so they open the textbook and land in a very comfortable position because it's in the familiar.
Right.
Right. And you'll hear the kids go, ah, hi, or something like that. They'll go, ah. And you know that they are reconfirming the information that was presented before they open the textbook.
Right.
And I think that way of using a textbook is generates more of a feeling of success for kids.
そうだね。基本的にテキストを教えるんじゃなくて、テキストにあるものをコミュニカティブにやってから確認するためにテキストを使う。
Now, we were talking about learning world earlier,
そう。
which is the text that I use. I know a lot of teachers are struggling, especially new teachers.
今僕の話
Yeah. That there are a lot, we know teachers that we're working with who decided to implement Learning World because maybe we like it or they've heard good things about this particular series of textbook. But they're struggling on how to get started with it and...
Right. そう。それでね、なんか、ちょっと久しぶりにね、ラーニングワールドの話をしようかなと思って、その5期の中で。3年ぶりぐらいのね。今まで、リピートの先生とかに、もうずっとワークショップ来てた先生もいたからお願いしてたんだけど、今回ちょっとすごい久しぶりにラーニングワールドの話しようかなと思ってます。そうだね。 またラーニングワールドのワークショップみたいなのやりたい気もするよね。
Yeah.
アプリフト流になっちゃうけど。
Yeah. I wonder how many teachers would be interested in that.
ねえ。これ、あれかな ?LINE 公式アカウントって聞いてみた方がいいかな。
Yeah.
And
to see...
ラーニングワールド使ってる先生どのぐらいいるんだろうね。
そうだね。あるいはラーニングに興味がある。Yeah, I really like it because it suits my policy.
Yeah.
It's a textbook that suits.
そのアレンジしやすいしね。
Easy to arrange, not too much information on one page. It's very simple. And the kids seem to like it. But also because it doesn't focus just on English, but Nakamoto Sensei's thinking is that kids also need experience creating new ideas and presenting new ideas.
That's really important.
It is really important, and it falls perfectly in line with the 4 C's. And kids' feeling of self-esteem.
本当にね。もう別にアプリコとかお金もらってるわけじゃないんだけど、でも本当にね、いいテキストだよね。
It is.
まあちょっとこう、なんていうのかな、レベルをアップするとかいう必要があるのも実際あるんだけどね。だけど、basically すごくよくできてるよね。あれはすごく日本の子供たちに合ってるなって思うし。それをこう、マシューもね、昔からそのラーニングワールドのワークショップやってても、指導書にないことばっかりやるからさ。
Right. So, なんかね、it was...
いつもフォローしなきゃいけなかったよね。
Yeah. Look, and Apricot Publishing were nothing but so lovely to me. And
本当に自由にさせてもらってたからね。私は。
So many teachers used to come to the Learning World workshops to get information on either how to use it or that they were interested in it. But in my presentations, I very rarely referred to the teacher's manual because I don't really read teacher's manuals.
ただやっぱりポリシーって意味でさ、いつも私が最初にその話をして、どこを目指すのかとか、どこを目指したいかっていう話をしてから話をしてくれたから、そういう意味ではよかったよね。その指導書を使ってどう教えるかっていうのは、やりたければお家帰ってみればいいわけで、別にワークショップで習うことでもないじゃない。
まあね。そうかそうか。So if we do something with Learning World again, it would probably be in that style, ちょっと自由にidea to what for. ね。
私たちがやるとき、そうね。もう自主的にやる感じになるから、別に、マシュースタイルを知りたい人はいいんじゃないですか。
Yeah.
まあなんかね、やろうかなって思うよね。最近やってなかったし。まあでもちょっとね、いろんなことを考えてて。でも
Well, it's a 教材 that I like, really like.
そうそう。そのラーニングワールドだけじゃなくて、マシューがすごく好きな教材。こういうふうに、まあ、箱型ではっきり言うと、そのメインの教材はラーニングワールドなんだけど、それ以外にもこうサプリメントの教材があって、マシュはすごくお気に入りで、これにこれを足す、これにこれを足すみたいな、すごくいいアイデアがいっぱいあるじゃない？そういうのをもし知りたい人がいたら、ぜひなんかワークショップみたいなのやってもいいかなってちょっと思うよね。なんか
Even if we have to go somewhere, like
retreat.
Retreat?
リトリートはね、かおり先生、こんばんは。
かおり先生、good evening.
そう、リトリートのね、考えてるんだけど、どうだろうな。でもちょっと聞いてみようかな、かおり先生。アンケートみたいに取れるのかな。ラーニングワールドを使っています。あるいは興味があります。他の教材使ってます。で、
ワークショップに行ってみたいか。
そう。マシューね。イングシャープリフトのワークショップ。で、またそこで使ってる先生たちがいろいろこうね、グループで何かアイデアを考えて作ってみるとかさ。
Yeah, and also, 困ったことあれば教えてください。ラーニングワールドに関して。
そうね。なんか、やってもいいかなって。
Yeah. Well, retreat possibly. Or I'd love to just like go to Osaka.
ああ、大阪も。
Let's just go
大阪行きたいね。
ね、行きたい。I haven't been for such a long time.
そうだね。娘たちもね、大阪行きたいとか、名古屋行きたいとか言うもんね。
when we used to go to Osaka, we used to put the kids into daycare.
So,
there's a pretty cool daycare down there on weekends. Because we used to have to.
いつもね、お願いするとこ決まっててね。
Yeah.
で、大阪弁教えてもらって。
So, and they used to come out of like 7 hours of that daycare and be speaking Osaka ben.
Welcome to Osaka.
It was really funny.
そう、大阪弁が出てくる。教えてもらったよとか言ってね。
そう。
でもまあよくやったわな。
そう。
名古屋の時もいろいろあったけど。
Yeah. The kids used to come out speaking Osaka ben.
そう。ちょっと嬉しそうだったよね。知ってるよとか言ってね。そう。
いいね。So, all right, we'll need to prepare some sort of anket.
そうだね。何ワールド。
Can you think of anything else, Hirami, to improve your teaching?
あとね、一つある。よく、教育書とかあるじゃない。
はい。
私も勉強してるし、自分もほら、言語学とか教えてるからなんだけど、なんていうのかな、第二言語習得の本とかさ、児童英語教育の本とか、こう、いわゆるあるじゃない。大学とか出してるの。で、あれって、レファレンスとしてはすごく、まあ、ね、勉強することはいいんだけど、それをもとに、やるっていうのは私ちょっと危険だと思ってて。で、なぜかというと、それが絶対のように思ってしまうじゃない。その、大学の先生が入ってて有名な本って言われたら、これが正しい答えだと思ってやるっていうのは、ちょっと危険だなって思うんですよ。
Can you give an example?
で、例えば臨界季節とかあるでしょ？クリティカルピリオドね。でクリティカルピリオドが、例えば9歳になったらもう、耳が育たないから、もうダメだから早くやんなきゃいけないとか、まあそういうのはあるじゃない。テオリーがね。そうすると、じゃあもう9歳までがもう、でも終わりみたいなね。早くからやって9歳で終わりみたいなことが出てくるんだけど、本当にそうなのっていう、こう、先生方のクリティカルシンキング絶対必要なんですよ。
Right.
で、ほら、クラッシュのインプットハイポテシスみたいなね。シャワーみたいなやつね。あれも未だにそうなんだけど、絶対そうかっていうことを考えると、どこどこの大学の先生のなんとかに言うと、これが最新のデータだからこれが正しいって決めつけてやるのは危ないと思う。でもやっぱり子供たちもその、なんていうのかな、いろんな、なんていう、この、メソドロジーとかさ、出てくるじゃない。シオリーとかね。でも、それはそれではこういうのがあるんだなるほどって思いながら、一番何しなきゃいけないかって言ったら、目の前の子供が何してるかを見る方がすごく勉強になるよね。で、こういうふうに書いてあるから、これはダメだとかね、これは良くないっていうふうに、こう、ジャンプトゥコンクルージョンしない方がいいっていうのはすごくあるのよ。いっぱいあるんだよね。で、そういうの勉強する悪いことじゃないの。悪いことじゃないけど、その勉強するのはそこにもそうだね。何のためにその第二言語習得を読むのって、何のためにその教育学読むのっていうところを、ちゃんと見ないとそれを信じて、こうだからこうに違いない、これが正しいからこうってするのは、ちょっと違うかな。だからそのために指導力を上げる時に。
Unless, Hirami, by reading something like that, you get so inspired, then by all means, be inspired and go ahead and try the ideas that particular author is suggesting.
Right. Of course.
But if you're not sure, then it's all right not to feel you have to implement it simply because that particular university professor says so. If you're not sure, then
だから結局やっぱ自分の頭で考えるのが大事で、自分がこれをやりたい、これがいいんじゃないかなって思ったときに、 裏付けるものがあれば、それが安心になるじゃない。
Yeah.
自分の考えが先にあって、裏付けるつもりで読むんだったらいいけど、
Yeah.
なんかゼロからそっちを読んで、
Right.
そっちにこう、行っちゃう、行き過ぎるのは、ちょっと危険かなと。だからこう、いつも本から、ここにこう書いてあるからこうでしょっていうのは、わかる？
Yeah,
You know what I mean? そうそう。っていうのはあるか。なんかそういう勉強の仕方をする先生もいるじゃない。まずこう、なんていうのかな。形。
Well, yeah, it's almost a bit like religion, isn't it? Well, it says so in the Bible. Well, it says like this in the Quran. It's like, well...
まあ、そうなんだけど。
Yeah.
そうそうそう。でも、
You know, all right, that's fine for you. You know what I mean?
そう。
But,
結構そういう、だからほら、例えばさ、私たちもそうだけど、ティーソル持ってない。ティーソルを持ったから指導力が上がったかっていうと、私は違うんだよね。一応持ったけど、でも、ティーソルがあるから指導力が。
Linguistics too.
そうそう、言語学。
Yeah. I've never really...
だってさ、言語学なんて今さ、ほら、先生方知ってるチョムスキーとかさ、language acquisition device が脳にあるとかさ、そういうのやるんだけど、でっていうか、それを知ってて、じゃあ指導力にどう関わるのっていうのがあるじゃない？だからそういう知識はあってもいいけど、やっぱりなんだろうな。
But to base your whole teaching on one methodology, or
そう、絶対これっていうのはやっぱりないわけで、これかどうかを見るには子供だよね。自分がやってみて、子供が何をしてどうなってるかっていうのを見ることが一番指導力が上がると思うんだよ。冷静に子供を分析するっていうかさ、私がこれを言った子供がこういうことを言って、こういう反応して、これを聞いてて、これを見て、これを書いてみたいなさ、なんかそこを見る方が指導力が上がる気がする。っていうのはあるね。勉強しなくていいってわけじゃないんですよ。してもいいんだけど、あんまりそこに行って、よし、指導力を上げるために、なんかこういうサーティフィケートを取ろうと思って、取って上がるかっていうと、ケースバイケースかな。まあ、なんていうの、基本的なことはね、まあ、全く初めてやる人からすると、必要なこともあると思うね。まあ、ほら、ドライブみたいなもんじゃん。ドライビングライセンス、そこに行くまではなんかこう、勉強してやるけど、免許取った人はみんなドライブうまいのっていうのと一緒で。まあ、そんな感じ。
I got pulled over by the police for speeding the day after I got my driver's license. I never told you that?
No.
Oh, okay.
そうなんだ。やるな。そうそうそう。
And I once rolled my car.
What?
I rolled it.
普通に言ってるけど、それ大変なことなんじゃないの？
I had an accident. And, yeah, it was obviously a long time ago, still in Australia.
Car?
Yeah.
Not bike?
No.
Bicycle?
No, my
bicycle でもあったじゃん。
I was 12 and I rode my bicycle off a cliff.
すごくない？こうさらって言ってるけど、クリッから落ちたからね。
I was, I must have been 22 years old, and I was coming home.
Right.
It was night, so thankfully there were no other cars involved in this particular accident. And the road went round basically up this hill, and there was a motorbike behind me, and I was looking in the rear view mirror to see if he was going to overtake me or not. So the road went round, and I wasn't concentrating on keeping the road. So I just basically hit the side of the road, the rail guard, the road guard, and so I lost control and I rolled the car. And the police told me that I was the first person ever to have rolled their car up this hill. So,
上に上がったってこと？
Yeah, I rolled up a hill.
そんなことってあんの？いや、これが落ちるんだったらわかるよ。
Yeah, no, it was up. I was the first person ever to roll their car up Lapston Hill.
グラビティ的におかしいよね。なんかあったの？
Yeah. Well, no one was injured, and the car was pretty wrecked, and I was fine.
普通に話
I
してみて
climbed
です
out
よ
of the window, and it was totally fine.
知らな
But
か
I
った
was charged with negligence, I think.
そうなん
So
だ。
I had to pay a fine. Some not a big.
そうなんだ。でも初めて聞いた。上に上がっちゃう人
So
おかしくない落ちるんじゃなくて上がるの
I know.
そうなんだ。
All right. That's an hour and a half, hear me?
そうです
That's
ね。
nice, nice timing.
Mm.
And no technical problems.
今日はね、よかったですね。
We hope you enjoyed this evening's presentation,
うんうん。
and we look forward to seeing you next week.
そうですね。また next week 何話そうかね。
So by all means, help us out. Please help.
何か
Send us
聞きたいこと
ideas of things to talk about, questions to answer.
あとね、全然関係ないんだけど、こんな遅くまで、こう、マシューと私がいることで、なんか付き合ってるのみたいな感じに思ってる先生がいたのね。ね、私たちが夫婦だっていうことを知らない人がいるってこと。
知らないの？
うん。気になってた人がいるって。
本当に？
そう。なんかそれぞれこう、インディビジュアルこう、プロフェッションがあってさ、なんかこんな遅くまで、なんか人がいるっていうのが。
マッシュの奥さん心配じゃないのみたいな。
そうそうそう。
そっか。
っていうふうに思ってた人がいたっていうのを聞きました。大丈夫です。大丈夫です。大丈夫です。なんだこの話。
面白い。
そう聞かれたんだよね。すごいそっちが気になっちゃって。そう。
そっか。
なんかね、気がついたら、YouTube の登録者数が120人ぐらいになってる。
すごい。いいですね。
どなたが見てくださってるんだろうと。
Yeah. If you're watching this later, thank you very much for subscribing, and we hope you're enjoying the videos.
ぜひね、なんだっけ、登録していってもらえると、今はこうライブばっかりやってますけど、またいずれちょっと違うことやるかもしれないね。なので、ぜひ。
Please subscribe, please like it, please recommend to any teachers that you know, or parents or people just interested in education.
なんか結構ね、こう、ダウンロードして、聞きながらお散歩してる方とかいるみたいで。で、前もほら、なんか、夕食の準備中に、再生して、ラジオ聞いてるようにやってますとかいう人がいる。
Yeah, I've also heard people listening to us in the bath.
そう、すっごいね。面白いかな？
I don't know.
でも、ありがたい。ね、そういう時。
Well, we have talked about education in the bath. So I guess it could be a suitable.
話がそれしかないんだよね、私たち。そんなことないけど、結構、なんかおかしい。
そんなことないよ。
そんなことないけど、結構、話し出しちゃうと、止まんないんだよね。つまるよね。もう寝なきゃいけないからやめようみたいな。
ね。
そう。もう忘れちゃうのに時間。もう2時、3時みたいな。そう。まあそれはいいんですけど、いつもありがとうございます。
いつもありがとう。Thank you very much for your support. Thank you for your encouragement and your kind words. We look forward every time to be working together with you. We're going to do it. We are changing this country's English education little by little by little. One person at a time.
あとぜひね、気軽に今日の YouTube どうだったよとか、感想とかを聞いていただいても、
that'd be great.
つまんなかったとか、でもいいんだけど、なんか送ってくれるとまた嬉しいなと思います。
Good. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much. Good night.
おやすみなさい。面白かったよ、僕の先生が。
I'm not surprised.
なんか、でもまたロッキーも考えなきゃいけないけど、なんかいろいろこう聞けてよかった。で、今アンケートを取っててさ、私とマシューが言った言葉で、 心に刺さった言葉は何ですかみたいな。そう。今ちょっとアンケートに答えてもらってて。こう当たり前に言ってるけど、そんなに先生がシリアスに取ってるっていうのってわかんないじゃん。何が先生に響いてるのかなっていうのを知りたいなと思ってね。
なるほど。
そう。アンケートを取ってます。
Fine.
ではま
Yes,
た、
good night.
おやすみなさい。
Good night. See you next week.